Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe, foe, foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the Grey Cups won. Go Argos, go, go, go. Go Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe, foe, foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the Grey Cups won. Go Argos, go Toronto, go. Go Argos, go, go, go.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 11 of the Argo Bounce Podcast Show with co-hosts Chris Pomay and Nick Small, a weekly show a weekly independent, non-affiliated show devoted to the CFL's 19-time Grey Cup champion, Toronto Argonauts. I hope everyone's doing well on this Friday, August 28th, 2026. And it's hard to believe the season is half over. This week is week 13 of the CFL. And I have my co-host here tonight. I didn't get a chance to really see him at the CNE game due to the CNE and due to the bad weather in Toronto on Saturday. For the 53rd show of the Argo Bounce Podcast Show, here's my co-host, Nick Small.
Hey, Chris, good to be here. Yeah, a little bit of a difficulty there with the weather delay. We lost about an hour of our game time. So by the time the game ended this week, it was already 11:30, and unfortunately just everything was kind of shut down. And frankly, we were there from the very beginning, the moment gates open for the Warriors Day Parade, always the first Saturday of the CNE. So by that point, most of us, we were all just running out of gas and we're ready to head home for the night. So I apologize for that we weren't able to have a celebratory victory beer, but we get to look forward for some opportunities coming up. We, of course, have tomorrow's game against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, a rematch of our home game in Saskatchewan, in which we won, and we get to discuss the preparations ahead for the Labor Day Classic in Hamilton, which includes for myself our second year and the third year total that Connor Sauvé and Dallas Bergen have organized the Labor Day 65-kilometer walk for CFL Fans Fight Cancer. So it's going to be a really exciting week ahead for us.
Nick, I wanted to get your thoughts. I didn't get a chance to go to the CNE. I know the next Argos home game is on Saturday, September 12th at 1 o'clock against Ottawa. Too early, in my opinion. It should be at least 3 or 4 o'clock, but I don't know why they went with 1 o'clock. But I'm going to come to that game as a fan, and maybe we can meet up after for a beer and that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as always, I'll be in the tailgating section before the game. I don't mind the 1 o'clock start. I find whether it's 1 or 3, I like having it earlier in the daytime because it allows more opportunities for families to come down to games, and you're not staying super duper late when you have these 7:30 o'clock games, and especially like the CNE game's a good example. You get that rain delay, you don't get out of there till almost midnight. Everything's shut down. You're crammed all sardine waiting for the train to go home. Now that it's an earlier start, when the game ends and it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you can go to Liberty Village and have a nice dinner, or you can hang out with more people in the tailgate lawn and give it some time for things to clear up. When it's a late start, sometimes you kind of lose those options. So it's nice that you can always find flexibility when you have the earlier games.
I would say 3 or 4 o'clock ideally. Now that 7 o'clock game or the 8 o'clock game against Hamilton, I got down there at 5 o'clock. I had no issues getting a parking spot at Aldershot. I had no trouble getting down there. At the end of the game, I stayed for Mike Miller and for David Unger in the locker room, and I got the 11:35, 11:40 train, and it wasn't bad at all. The one guy from the GO train goes, Chris, if you wait until the 12 o'clock one, the Ed Sheeran concert just got out. The train's packed like sardines. So I was able to get on the train before the one with Ed Sheeran concert people getting
Mm.
off. So I really lucked out that night with
Yeah.
the GO train.
As we also jump ahead to looking at the Labor Day game, that's one other benefit. Like Labor Day is another good example, a big benefit of having an early game in Hamilton that works really well. When we have the Labor Day game there, if you want to go by train, you have enough time to walk back to West Harbor and catch a train going back to Toronto. I've had the experience, and I think many Argos fans who have gone to a game in Hamilton have had that experience where if it's a late starting game, 7 o'clock, you have to book it to get back to West Harbor, or even leave early. Otherwise, you miss that train and you're stuck finding an Uber or some other means of getting home. So there's another benefit of having the earlier starts. You have more trains running to be able to disperse the crowds and take it home. Fortunately, with Toronto, it's kind of the opposite. We run trains late till 1 in the morning or even later, depending on what's going on. So there's always ways to get home, but it's sometimes tricky the other way around.
I don't mind. I didn't mind the Labor games being at 7 o'clock, to be honest. But I see why they're doing it 2 o'clock so the families can come and they can get a bigger crowds. But I like nighttime football. So, but the 1 o'clock game, it's like, I guess I'll do it. I'll do it. But anyways, Nick, let's get into, before we get into the game, let's just get in your thoughts on your CNE experience. I didn't really get much of it when I got there. It was kind of like rushed.
Yeah, like I said, well, I was there from the beginning for the Warriors Day Parade, which is always one of the highlights for me of the CNE. It's something that I've made a priority of going to every year for probably the last decade or so. So it's something I really enjoy doing, and it's a great way to honor Canada's veterans, Canada's armed forces. You think of all the service we've done, of course, First and Second World Wars, although there's not very many veterans, none from the first and very few left from the second. Korea, Afghanistan, peacekeeping missions in the breakup of the former Yugoslavia. So there's all these events that Canada's veterans have came in. So it's really nice to be able to show some honor to them, as well as veterans of other armed forces who have made their lives in Canada following war. And then, of course, the other big thing for me is the food. Everybody knows I'm a foodie. You've seen my small eats, and I want to thank everybody for following me along with that. Some of the stuff, I mean, we did the pickle lemon and bacon lemonade, or pickle and bacon coffee. Sorry. What else? We had the mac and cheese, Kraft Dinner mac and cheese smoothie, which was disgusting. We had my favorite was probably at San Francesco's. This year they had their signature veal in 2 giant mozzarella square patties. So I mean, if you're lactose intolerant, it won't be good on your stomach, but it was, the flavor wise, is just absolutely outstanding. So there's always that. And then you've always got all your standard carnival food. If you're more traditional, you just want the hot ice cream waffles, the corn dogs, the popcorn, the slushies. There's all of those as well. So there's always something for everybody there.
What was the attendance like there? I guess the weather was okay in the daytime. It was about 6 o'clock at night where it changed.
Yeah, it got bad by then. I didn't hear anything about the actual attendance, but I thought it wasn't too bad.
18,842. It was announced
Yeah.
at 18,842.
Oh, I meant the CFL game, or the CNE itself. I didn't mean about the game, but yeah, we had 18,000, which, when you consider the rain, and we know that the Argonauts attendance is tracked by people signing in, scanning in. It's not tickets sold. We maybe could have eclipsed that 20,000 had it not been the rain, because I know there were some circumstances that some people who had queued up as the rain hit decided to either call it or do other stuff to get out of the rain, and some did not end up returning because of the rain. So that's a little bit unfortunate and maybe a missed opportunity, but it's really good to see that after a home opener, which had a really good showing, the fact that we're able to have strong showings with 18,000 in this Hamilton game is a really good sign. And that gives some potential that maybe we'll see another 18,000 fan game coming up, maybe with the Ottawa game, or I'm looking forward to the Edmonton game later on. I think it's the 26th or the 19th, I think. But anyways, there's that game coming up as well, which will be really good, especially because Edmonton's probably the team other than Montreal that most fans kind of have as one of the potential Grey Cup teams, at least in the West.
I would say there was about 16,000 in the stands, but they announced it 18,842. Now the 1 hour delay I think hurt. Now, to be honest, I wasn't in the stands, I was in the press box, but I did not see a lot of Hamilton fans. And even one of the Argo players told me there wasn't that many Hamilton fans that were there. He said there was more Argo fans than Tiger Cat fans, and they really appreciate the Argo fans coming out and sticking around with the team with the weather conditions. By the way, the CFL rule is, and I found this out from TSN, that after 3 hours, if the game doesn't start, then they postpone it. So there's a 3 hour kickoff rule. After 3 hours, they didn't. I actually predicted 8 o'clock. Everyone kind of laughed at me, and it was actually 8:07. So I was only 7 minutes off. But for those people watching, the CFL rule during inclement weather, and it wasn't just the rain and wind. People were like, why are they not playing because of the rain and wind? It was lightning and thunder in the area, and player safety comes first. Same with the fans. So, but they lucked out because that storm was bad, Nick, and everybody was thinking, wow, if we don't get this game going by 10 o'clock, we're not going to be playing. And there is a rule in Toronto, apparently, no sporting event can start after 11 o'clock p.m. in Toronto due to the noise bylaw.
Well, I didn't know about the noise bylaw, but yeah, it's a good thing they were able to get it in. Of course, we were huddled kind of in the concourse, but you could still see from the open air nature of BMO Field, you could see some of the flashes of lightning. But also, it was funny because they tested the fourth quarter thing where they do the blackout and they have all the audio doing the lightning strike stuff during the fourth quarter break. As you've seen the last two home games, they were doing that right before we went in, and then we had the real thunder and lightning going on. So it was kind of like, is that the stadium? Is that reality? Is that the act of God or whatever? So it's like we were kind of like, what was actually what's really going on? Which thunder's the real thunder? And of course, it was really funny once everybody started to take the field. They played Thunderstruck, and everybody was all ready to rock and roll. And yeah, the nice thing though with the delay too is that they cut a lot of the intermission stuff short. So like I felt bad for the veteran cheerleader team. They were going to have some of the cheerleader alumni along with how they did the tribute to Carl Braisley and Kevin Iben. They lost out on that kind of stuff, unfortunately, due to the rain.
They should bring them back. They should bring them back for the Ottawa game.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely an opportunity they could do it in the future. Might work well for the I think it's Ottawa. That's that what do they call it? Like the Frosh game or whatever they call it, the like college theme game. That might be a good opportunity for that if they're flexible enough to do that. So I mean, there's definitely some opportunities, but it was really exciting once the game got going. I mean, the weather was something that I thought if we're going to now dive in the game itself, Toronto really capitalized on that weather. And like right from the beginning, when Hamilton started with 3 and outs, Toronto was going to win from the get-go, in my opinion. They were the better team by far.
Well, the game really wasn't a blowout. Hamilton was leading 17-15 at half. Toronto got off to a 12-0 start, and I'm thinking field goal. It was great for Brady Lister. We'll get into Brady in a bit, but I kept thinking the Argos have had all these opportunities. They're only up 12-0, and then Trey Ford, bam, touchdown, 12-7, and then bam, before halftime, touchdown. They're up 17-15 at halftime. The Argonauts and Mike Miller and the coaching staff made great adjustments, and they outscored them 24-3. Everyone's like, oh, it was a blowout, 39-20, but it really wasn't. It was basically came down to Toronto made the plays in the second half, and I gotta say this too, Nick. Trey Ford, they made him into a blocking passer quarterback. 19 for 32 for 356, no touchdowns, no interceptions, not bad numbers. Trey Ford only ran the ball 4 times for 33 yards. That's an 8.4-yard average, but they didn't use his legs enough, in my opinion. I got to credit the Argos defense because I think they did a better job on containing him, but I don't feel Hamilton did the run pass option enough with Trey Ford. Their running game was terrible. Ford only had 4 carries, 33 yards. Roundtree had, I think, 32 yards rushing. Their running game was not existent. So I do credit the Argos defense, but I also feel Hamilton's coaching staff didn't use Ford the way he should be, because I think Ford's more dangerous when he's at it running with the football, the RPO. So credit to the Argonauts, by the way. And Nick, before we get into more of the Argonauts game, overall, what would you give the CNA experience that you had on Saturday? What would you give it out of 5 stars for those people that haven't been there yet?
Well, I've always said the CNE game has always been my favorite. It's always one of the most enjoyable because you get all these benefits from attending the CNE included in your ticket. So that's always made it one of the highlight things for me. But as we kind of talk in the analysis of the game itself, like, I mean, I kind of disagree to some its respects on Hamilton with some of the figures in the yardage. Ben Grant pointed it out that Ford was 7 for 14 on 20 plus yard throws, so 50%, and and 3 of them, the last 3 came in the last minute of the game while they were down 19 points. So you kind of have to take away those 100 yards he threw in garbage time, and then he only then puts up around 250 passing yards, which is below Chad's 289. I think what Toronto managed to do really well, like you pointed out, the fact they were able to contain Trey in the pocket and force him to throw long in the wet weather was, I think, the thing that ultimately had them, because they knew Ford was never going to beat them with only throwing 20 plus yard throws all game in that wet weather. And once it kind of got in that point late in the game, the thing that, of course, I know you speak highly on, they were finally able to establish a good running game in the late stages of the game, and that's what really allowed them to kill more time on the clock. They led in the time of possession by 35 minutes to 25, and that's what allowed them to close it out.
And most importantly, Nick, after having 5 turnovers against Calgary, 6 against Edmonton, 11 in 2 games, they only turned the ball over once. Chad Kelly interception by Stavios. What's his name again?
Stavros Katsantonis.
Tonis, yeah. And he gets an interception every game. So that was a great play by him on Chad Kelly. So to have only 1 interception, that was amazing. And also, Nick, I'm going to tell you this. I was on that field before the game and after the game when it was raining. I've never seen a grass field hold up as well as that. And the weather, which was brutal, especially in the first half, you didn't see Argo guys dropping the footballs. Everybody came and caught the balls. The Argos were sharp, and there was no drop passes, and it really wasn't a factor. Like, that field was just amazing. You could have taken your shoes off of it and walked on it and had dry feet. So credit to Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment and the people running BMO Field for that field being in such great shape. Because, Nick, you played football. I did too. Back in the old days, that would have been a mud pit. That would have been a disaster. There would have been no passing game at all. And the rain, the winds didn't affect anything really.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It shows the technology has come a long way in field development. Like, all of these guys, it used to be that, like, the guys who designed and managed golf courses was kind of what you would do if you took a degree on I guess you would call it like some sort of turf studies or like something like that, where you're it's a college course you can take on how to manage lawn care and for reasons like this. And it ever since the World Cup, it's really paid off. And yeah, to your point, like, I wish I could have seen it myself to really understand how much effort and technology has gone into this. And as Argonaut fans and an organization, we really are lucky because we have the only true grass field left. And as we've seen, we have the best equipment manager in all of football, Danny Webb. Webb that has been able to take advantage of those of things like that to make sure that players are properly fitted with the right equipment and are able to
And
play
the
in
right
any
cleats
condition.
too. Yep, the
Yep,
right
yep.
cleats too. The equipment guys like Dave Silberg and Danny Webb, the guys like that should get a lot of credit too, Nick. And by the way, we have a viewer watching on YouTube. Fair the Conspiracy says really good analyst. And analyst, thank you so much, Fear the Conspiracy, for watching on YouTube. For those people who are watching right now live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, and Instagram, if you have a question or a comment for Nick or myself, type it up in the comment section and I will bring it up as well. But weather was not a factor, and the Argonaut receivers all had a great game. And Chad Kelly looked great. There was times Chad could have scrambled for first downs and picked up yards, but he just kept in there, hanged in there, and he found open receivers. And the one interception, like I said, the Hamilton player made a great play on it, and there's not much you can do about it. But to go from 11 turnovers the last 2 games to 1 turnover, I told this to Mike Miller, that was a great job, because you thought the rainy conditions, and you didn't know how the field was going to hold up. You'd see some fumbles and some turnovers, and the Argonauts did a really good job in holding on to the football and protecting the football. And we got to give a shout out to Guelph alumni Isaiah Smith, who had 15 carries for 99 yards and was a factor in the fourth quarter, Nick. And I know you're a passing guy, but you still need to have effective running game. And that also takes a little pressure off Chad Kelly to do everything too. I'm not saying give Smith the ball 25, 30 times a game, but if he can average 15 to even 18 carries a game, I'm not saying he's going to get 99 yards, but 15 to 18 carries a game, and you get close to 90 to 100 yards, that helps the Argonauts offense. And the offensive linemen have already told me we prefer to run block over pass protect. And I just think I thought the offensive line was good. I don't think Hamilton even had 1 sack of Chad Kelly in that game. I don't believe they had 1 sack.
Let me
I
check.
will.
I've got no sacks, and
No,
Toronto
no,
responded. They had, I think, was it 4 of their own? Yeah,
4,
Lemon had Lemon,
2.
Bolden, and
Yeah.
Hendricks. Lemon with his 2. But yeah, I mean, and in terms of offensive production, like that was the thing. Like Chad Kelly's gameplay here was great when you consider the weather and everything. He was 26 for 34, so over 75%, and 289 for him is a pretty low number. But again, yeah, like you compare it to Trey Ford, who was just 19 of 32, and as I said, you knock 3 passes and 100 yards that came in garbage time, and they're pretty pedestrian looking numbers by comparison. And as you said, what I think that they found the key, especially in these weather conditions, the thing was to not let Trey Ford break free out of the pocket and be able to scramble around. That's what killed them in the Hamilton game, the game in Hamilton at the beginning of the season. They were able to make those adjustments heading into this game, and now it's something Hamilton's going to have to figure out now as they play in Hamilton and Labor Day in a week's time.
By the way, we also have Fear of the Conspiracy watching on YouTube. George Brown is watching from St. Louis. Jonathan is watching from Buffalo. And of course, we're got Robbie, I think, watching as well. Fear of the Conspiracy, who's watching on YouTube, has another comment. If Chad mixes his game up like the CNE game, short passes, great run game, long passes, the Argos are unbeatable. I don't know about that, but I think they have a very good team. Now, Sean Lemon, I thought, 36 years old. This guy's had issues with the CFL and gambling and all that. I'm thinking this was a bad pickup. He's done, but he's had 4 or 5 sacks with the Argonauts since he's come back. And I think he's in the top 5 now for the Argo sacks of all time. Sean Lemon.
Yeah,
I believe
I don't know.
he's proven me wrong. He's proven me wrong. I thought now this is just a risky move by the Argos, and he has fit in well with the locker room. Mike Miller said that. His teammates have said that, and his production for a 36-year-old has been really good. He's really been a nice addition to this team, and I admit I was one of the skeptics, so I was wrong.
Yeah, whatever it is that he found in youth, he's always played well even when he came to Toronto for the first time. His statistics were always better playing as a defensive lineman in Toronto than anywhere else. I got to give a lot of credit to defensive line coach D Max. Whatever Demetrius Maxey has done for this D line since some of the changes, like it's they've really stepped their game up, and like attending practice here on Wednesday, they're like dogs out there. They're playing with such a high degree of confidence, and everything there just seems to be clicking on all cylinders. And talking to some of them after practice, spoke to Ralph Hawley a little bit. I spoke to Jonathan Kongbo a little bit, and yeah, everybody's in such a really peak move.
George Brown from St. Louis, Missouri is watching. We're going to have George on again at some point, too, to get his thought as a fan. George just wants to say, hey, guys, just wanting to check in with my two favorite Canadian podcasters. I'm at Braves game right now, Atlanta Braves game right now. Go Argos. George, remember Argo, Saskatchewan, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on TSN, and I believe CBS Sports Network. I will have to double check that. And we get another comment from Fear of the Conspiracy on YouTube. The Argos defense looks top notch. I do think the Argos defense is playing much better. And by the way, when you hold a team to 20 points or less, you're generally going to win football games. And they held Hamilton to 3 points in the second half. So shout out to the Argos defense and the coaching staff for making adjustments in the second half, because everybody was thinking, oh, Hamilton's taking control of the game, 17-15 at halftime. They outscored the Argos, 17-3 to finish up the first half. And then the Argos flipped the second half and outscored them 24-3. So Nick, they got to give the coaching staff credit too for having the team ready to play. And they didn't panic when they fell behind, even though it was only 2 points. And then they made their adjustments in the second half. And the biggest thing was they played clean football, only one turnover. And I don't think they had that many penalties in this game. I thought, my opinion from the press box, I thought they were fairly disciplined. I thought there wasn't that many penalties against them.
Yeah, they only had one penalty for 5 yards all game. Hamilton, meanwhile, had 9 for 55 yards. So that there made a huge difference. But yeah, to your points, like they played smart, clean football. What we've seen sometimes in the past is that they've tried too hard to get back into the game, and it's caused some individual mistakes, a couple fumbles we've seen, or interceptions thrown. What was nice about this is they just stuck to the script and they played. This is, I think, where the Argos can be at their most deadly, when they play just slow, methodical, smart drives. They, like Chad, never really tried to force the ball deep downfield. Hamilton's one of the best defenses at covering the deep pass. He uncharacteristic of him maybe, but it's reflected in his numbers. He took some of the shorter passes, but it was enough to get first downs. And especially in this wet weather, you need to march the ball down the field methodically. You need to protect the football, and it's exactly what they did in this game. So, and now, of course, we get to look at a really exciting week coming up tomorrow night against Saskatchewan.
Hey, Nick, I would like to play an interview with wide receiver David Unger. I thought David had a decent game. He made some good catches, but this receiving core, Nick, I think is probably one of the most talented they had in team history. And Jake Herslow is back in. Even if they're without Polk, you got Jake Herslow. There's not much of a drop off between Polk and Herslow. And then David Unger, he's just a poor man's version of Wes Walker and Julian Edelman. And David always has time for me after the game. So I'm just going to play the one interview with David Unger from the Toronto Argonauts locker room. And this is courtesy of Chris Pomay's Live with CDP Talk Show YouTube channel. Please subscribe, like, and share. And here's David Unger, number 83 from the Argonauts, after the Boatmen's 39-20 win over Hamilton. Here live at the Toronto Argonauts locker room. A very victorious, happy locker room tonight here after the Argo 39-20 win over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I have a special guest with me here, wide receiver number 83, David Unger. Thoughts on this win tonight, David, and bouncing back from last week in Edmonton?
Sorry, Chris, I couldn't really hear the question.
Thoughts on the win tonight and bouncing back after last week's game against Edmonton. How important was it to win tonight?
Man, it was a huge win, not only just for getting our morale up and, heading in the right direction, but obviously when it comes to the season series with Hamilton, We needed that win. We are able to beat them by, a significant more amount. I don't even know what the score was, to be honest, but I know it was more than what we lost by in Hamilton. So we got the score tiebreaker, but at the end of the day, we're going to see them in a couple weeks, and we need to get it done just like we did tonight.
Thoughts on rookie running back Isaiah Smith tonight?
Oh, man, he played great. I'm so happy for him. I've become close with him since training camp, and, to see a young rookie, go through the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations of their first year, I can really relate to that. And we've had a lot of great talks with each other over the season, and to see him perform like that in such a big game was so gratifying, and I'm so proud of him.
What are your thoughts on the O-line tonight, too, protecting Chad Kelly, the offensive line play tonight?
Oh, man, O-line was phenomenal. If we're able to run the ball like we did tonight, then there's not a lot of teams. I don't think there's any team that can really beat us, because it opens up so much more of the passing game. We were still able to be efficient in the passing game despite the rain, and that just all credit goes to the offensive line and Chad for getting it done tonight.
Thoughts on special team tonight, especially a bounce-back game for Brady Litzner going 4 for 4, including that 49-yard kick in the heavy rain.
Yeah, he did a phenomenal job tonight. That's his job, is to knock him down, and he did that tonight, and I'm very happy for him. And then for our special teams unit to hold such a great returner, to really, he was a non-factor tonight. So to be able to do that is a heck of a group effort. And, I would say that we won the special teams battle tonight, and that's always a big factor in getting the win.
Thoughts on the Argo fan base here tonight in not so great conditions?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how great of fans we have out here. I mean, to see that many fans still stay after a delay, heavy rain pour, they had there's all this other stuff going on here in the city with the CNE and concerts and whatnot. They could have been anywhere but here tonight, and to see that good of a crowd still. And I really didn't see many Hamilton fans. It was really all blue. So, I'm so grateful to the fans, and we hope that they keep showing up like that.
David, quick thoughts on next week's opponent, the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're a good team. They've gotten a good couple of wins recently. They're going to be fired up to face us after we beat them the first time there. So hands on deck, and we're ready to go for a big battle this week.
And what's a fun fact about you that the Argo fan base might not know about you?
A fun fact is that I'm a father to a beautiful 1-year-old. She's the most amazing thing in my life, and I cannot wait to go see her right now.
And finally, David, where can the Argo fans find you on social media?
Instagram, I'm David _ Unger, and that's really all I'm on. So come get me on IG.
Well, David, I want to say thank you so much. And the final score tonight was 39-20. So congratulations, and good luck next week against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks, David. What did you think, Nick, of David Unger's post-game interview with me after the game?
I love him plugging in his daughter. I remember in training camp when we were there, I think it was the Double Blue game, that his wife and his daughter were there in the stands. And I remember him going over, and just, she means the world to him. So it's really nice to see the value of family that runs deep. It's not just your football family, but your actual family. So, and I mean, like all of these guys, they've all got lives and everything else going on with them. So, and especially with everything, the way the season's gone on, it's been a lot of adversity that this team's had to face. And it's nice that now that we're through the really difficult stretch, we're able to they're able to celebrate it. And we see that in how they've played at home, how much they really appreciate us as fans for being out. As we saw, we weathered the storm. We had 18,000 out, probably would have been closer to 20 had we not had the storm happen. So that's really exciting that some of the numbers in attendance are really going in the right direction. So that's really positive. David had a bit of a quiet game for him. He only had 3 catches for 27 yards. And I think I remember late in the game, I had my phone out because I was like, did Unger even get a pass? Because it was like in the fourth quarter and I didn't even remember the ball being thrown to him. So it was a little bit of a quieter game for him, but that's okay. One of the stats I heard recently, so DeMonte Coxey had another 75 yards added to his receiving yards, and this might finally be the year Coxey can break that 1,000-yard single season receiving mark. He's come close many times, and last year he probably would have had that had he not had that head injury he took there at BMO kind of midway through the season. It was kind of when he went out, that was the same moment that Jake Herschel came in and sort of overtook his spot as sort of that star athletic receiver. So it's kind of funny how that kind of works that way. But yeah, it was a really good game for the receiving core all around. Everybody received multiple targets and multiple catches. Coxey and Common led with 75 and 74 each. Yeah. Mittal at 53, Herschel 32, Jones at 28, and Dave Unger at 27 yards.
But Dave is a team guy. Dave wants to win. He's old school, Nick. He'd rather win than lose and have 10 catches and 300 yards. And he's a team player. And I'll tell you this, he might not be the most talented player on the roster, but there's nobody that works as hard as David Unger, and there's nobody that is more passionate about football than David Unger. So this guy is an inspiration for myself and a lot of people, and it's a shame that the Toronto traditional media doesn't recognize players like David, DeMonte Coxey, this organization right here. And I'm trying my best, and some of the other media, freelance media, are trying their best to get these guys out there. They're great to talk to, Nick. And it's not about me, it's about the players and the fans of Toronto. Like, I know the Argo fan base is loyal, but the rest of the city should get to know these guys. They're good guys. They really care and they want to win. And they're not just about the money, unlike a certain other team.
Well, I will say this. Ken can attest to this. With all the snacks and treats and rewards we keep giving to the players as fans, those of us who care about this team, I start to worry with all the candy. DeMonte Coxey and those guys are gonna have no teeth left with all the Skittles and other candy. So, but I can confirm that those of us who know and follow the team passionately, we do care and we recognize them and we appreciate everything that guys like DeMonte and Dave and all the other members of the Toronto Argonauts contribute. And that's kind of my favorite part about attending practice as a fan. If you're in the Toronto area, make it out to Lamport Stadium when the practices are posted. We're really spoiled in that it's a free opportunity to attend and watch. And I think even just being there is a great sign of support. And I know everybody appreciates and respects it. So, and I mean, it's really cool to get up close, like I mentioned before, when you get to talk to people like Coach Miller, Coach Johnson, Coach D-Max, Coach Donovan, Ralph Hawley, DeMonte Coxey, Nick Arbuckle, like all these guys, they're all outstanding individuals. And it means to me these days, like as a fan, as a kid, you kind of just want the guys' autographs or photos or whatever. But as I get older, I appreciate more just knowing them as people and having it reciprocate in that way. That level of respect is really nice, and they're all outstanding individuals.
It's just a shame that the Argos weren't in Guelph long enough. We only had them here for 3 months, and that wasn't long enough. You guys
3 months,
have already
2 months longer than you would normally have. You'd only have the preseason.
They really should be here longer because the facilities at Guelph are better than Lamport Stadium. So in my opinion, the Argos should practice more in Guelph going forward. So that's my opinion. So it's convenient for me and too bad for you guys. But it's okay. It's okay. You guys can have the last month. By the way, Nick, I love the NFL, but you would not see what we're seeing with the Argonauts. I'm not sure what the other teams are like, but you would not see that from the NFL. It's all corporate and it's all security, and they wouldn't let the fans get near the players or give them candy and Skittles like Ken does with DeMonte Coxey. That's another reason I love the CFL, because they're great with media, but they're great with their fans, and I do like the product. And I really wish, out of all the rule changes coming up, I really wish they'd keep the 55-yard line, but we'll see how it looks next year. We'll give it a try. So, by the way, we have more comments here, Nick, and I want to get to them all. And I appreciate everyone watching. Fear the Conspiracy, who's watched our show before, he's on YouTube. Argo special teams are doing great too. Go Argos. Great guy. And this one was spam, so we won't read the unfortunately on StreamYard you do get some spam stuff. So, but Fear the Conspiracy and George Brown, thank you for watching. But the Argo special teams is getting better, and I must have missed one of Brady's kicks because I saw all his hits, but I must have stepped out in the media press box when he missed one, because I left the game thinking he was 4 for 4, but I told everyone, even if he missed a kick, he went 4 for 5, and he had that 49-yard kick in a downpour. It's hard enough to hit 49 on a good night, but try kicking it in high wind conditions and rain. And I thought Brady did really well, 4 for 5. Obviously, he had an extra point blocked. That does happen. I spoke to Mike Miller at the end of the game, and he was proud of Brady, and they weren't going to give up on Brady. So, from my sense, Brady's going to be the kicker for this team going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't know what's up with Laram as fans, and yeah, from my standpoint, like I have a ton of admiration and respect for Laram. So whatever it is he's dealing with, yeah, like I've got his support as well, and but yeah, for right now, it's Lidster's the guy, and it's his job, and he's living up to it. So that's as important
And those kicks,
anything
and
right now.
yeah, and those early kicks were important. Obviously, you want the Argos to get touchdowns every drive, but let's say he misses all 3 of those kicks, or misses 2 out of 3, or all 3. That's a different football game. So I thought Brady really executed well in trying conditions, and the black extra point, it does happen to everybody. So that you can't do. But I think the special teams is getting better, and Grant. He didn't get a touchdown, but he had another 45-yard punt return that set the Argos up in great scoring position. So I think, and I told Mickey Donovan after the game in the locker room, I think your special teams is getting much better. I think Brady had a really good game, and it was great to see him have a really good game. And I think your special teams is getting better. So yeah, I think the defense, their secondary, you're right. Hamilton did have a couple receivers with over 100 yards. Wheatfall had over 105 yards, and Keandre Smith, the Gulf Griffin alumni, had over 105 yards. But they did a nice job on Kenny Lawler. I don't know if this was Hamilton's doing or the Argos playing Kenny tough. Kenny Lawler only had 4 catches for 57 yards in this game, and he is an elite receiver. So that, you got to give the Argo defense credit for that. But Hamilton too, he's your best playmaker. You got to get him the ball too.
Bubba Bolden had a sack on the safety blitz, and I think there were 2 instances again where I think the Argos the receivers or the DBs had a possible interception they weren't able to come up with. So they're playing better. And I mean, another thing about attending practice, one of the guys I gotta say that is very different when you see him in practice versus in the game, maybe on TV, is Greg Quick. That's all I'm gonna say at that. So I mean, I think earlier in the season when the Argos were giving up a lot of points on defense, there's a lot of criticism maybe thrown towards him specifically. And all I'm gonna say is, give him a chance, because now that things are finally rolling, the defense is starting to look really, really good right now. I think more than anybody right now, like Sean Lemon has definitely been a big factor, but I also think that pickup of Bubba Bolden at safety has been just a tremendous addition to that lineup.
I tend to agree with you, Nick. My only concern is this team is 5-5. I really feel they're better than a 5-5 team. I really feel they should be, I would say at least 7-3, 5-5, but I really feel they're 7-3. Now the question is they've had a couple of bad road losses at Calgary and at Edmonton. Which team will show up against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who have lost 3 games in a row and are now 6-4? So which Argos team will show up Saturday night? The one we saw against Hamilton, or the one that showed up against Calgary and Edmonton?
Well, I think when you look at the Edmonton game, I think it's a lot more of the kind of like some of their other losses in the closer games where there's more self-inflicted wounds. Whereas in the Calgary game, it was just that Calgary was on fire, like they were never beating them. So I think that's where maybe things are a little bit different. But yeah, we do have this kind of weird situation right now where it's kind of like we get a win, we get a loss, we get a win, we get a loss, and we haven't really hit that consecutive mark. So I think it would be really nice. And I think with the injuries Saskatchewan's dealing with, they got a lot of guys beat up. I think now's a good opportunity that, like, I don't really believe the idea that the money line should be 2-1 odds for Toronto to win. That's way too much favor towards Saskatchewan. But I think that they may not win, but it is definitely a winnable game, especially considering we've already beaten Saskatchewan once this year with arguably a worse lineup on our end and a better lineup on their end than we have this game in Saskatchewan.
Nick, what were some turning points in this game against Hamilton, and how important was this win in terms of playoff positioning, especially when they lost that Hamilton game by one single point off the Liram 31-yard kick? How important was this win to get that loss out of their mouth and also put some distance between them and the Cats for second in the East? Because Montreal is going to win the East. They're the class of the league unless they collapse in the next couple of months.
Yeah, well, with quarterback safety, you never know these days. So yeah, it's still, there's still a lot of time left, but I definitely don't entirely buy into the season beginning at Labor Day. Yeah, for me, it really came down to the third quarter with the adjustments they made. They really were able to take control of things at that point, just from a game clock management perspective. And the importance of it is huge because, as you said, it ties the series up and it kind of puts them in a spot where going to this game in Saskatchewan, even if we lose, I think as long as it's a close game and they don't commit a bunch of self-inflicted wounds, it's a game that like would be nice to win. But if we lose it, it's not the end of the world. Kind of like many of our games out west, we talked about how if we can roll 500 during that road trip, which we were able to do, if we can get this win against Saskatchewan, it's great. And then whether or not we do that, I mean, it makes the Labor Day game more important if we lose it. But even if we do, if we win the Labor Day game, kind of regardless, it really puts the screws on Hamilton because they're already losing the crossover to Winnipeg right now. As it stands right now, we would host the East semis. Montreal would host the East final, whoever wins between us and Winnipeg. So Hamilton's the team that's really under the pressure. They give it in gear. Plus, of course, there's all the rivalry stuff that goes in the Labor Day game. And with this year, it being the deciding game, unlike the last couple of years where we've had another one in Hamilton. Yeah. And then, of course, to this comment from Fear the Conspiracy, if O-line plays great again and Chad's comfortable, it gets in a groove, the Argos win. I think that's a key point. One of the big things kind of that happened late at the end of this game that may have ramifications coming into this week's game is the injury to Brandon Kemp. We lost our right tackle, and if I look right now, he's listed on the 6th game. So whatever it is he's dealing with on his leg, it's probably a serious injury. In their depth chart for this week, they called up Rush Reimer, I believe, is his name. Yep, Rush Reimer. So they called him up. So right now, as it stands, he's taking that right tackle spot 1-for-1. And then you have the rest of the normal O-line, Kolonkowski backing up center and Rugden Hill backing up right guard as potential guys who might move around if injuries come up. But yeah, if they can win this Saskatchewan game, it makes less pressure on the Labor Day game. But if they're able to win both, I think by that point you're really in the driver's seat to at least clinch second.
As for Hamilton, they dropped to 4-7 now. They've lost 6 out of the last 7 games without Levi Mitchell. They've got 7 games left to play, Nick. They got to go to Calgary on Saturday at 3:00. They've got 7 games left. They really need to win their next 2 games. They need to beat Calgary and Toronto. Obviously, they're not going to catch Montreal, but for them to have any chance to catch Toronto for second place, they're going to have to beat Calgary and then beat the Argos on Labor Day. And for your information, the Argos have outscored Hamilton in the 2 games now, 52-44. So they've outscored them by 8 points. So this Labor Day game, if the Argos can win it, could probably put a nail in the Cats' season by the end of Labor Day Monday.
Well, for this week, Hamilton has a bit of a benefit in that Vernon Adams isn't playing for Calgary this week, whatever injury he was dealing with last week. But unfortunately, we also don't play with the aggregate scores like they used to do back when they had that run where they went with the 2-game best combined score over the 2 games. So at the end of the day, we've each split a game. It doesn't matter how much we won by or lost by. We got to win this Labor Day game, and that would really be the clincher.
But a tiebreaker. But if these teams tie for second place, it's decided by point differential. So that was important too, to score to get that extra touchdown at the end of the game. It at least gives them a little bit of a cushion against them for the Labor Day game. But as far as I'm concerned, Nick, the Argos are 5-5. They got 8 games left. I'm hoping the Argos can go at least 5-3. I said before the season started, I felt this was a 10-8 team, and I think they're capable of doing it, going 5-3 in their next 8. Hamilton really needs to go, I would say, at least 5-2 in their next 7 games. And that might not even get them in. That would get them to what, 9? I think that would get them to what, 9-9, 500. And I don't even know if that would get them in. So Hamilton's at the point, Nick, where they really need to win every game now. With 7 losses and that crossover from the West, Winnipeg, Hamilton really needs to win as many games as they can. I don't think 5-2 is what is going to be good enough for to get them in the playoffs. I think they're going to have to win out now. Really, that loss was devastating for Hamilton.
And as an Argos fan, it's all the better.
By the way, Nick, we got to get into this before we wrap up the show. Whether you like him or not, he is a talented player, and he's probably one of the most talented quarterbacks in Argonaut history. I am not sure you can put him in number 1 all time, but he's only been with the Argos since 2022, and he's even missed a whole year and a half. Chad Kelly is the now 6th all-time in passing yardage for the Toronto Argonauts and has reached over 10,000 yards. Nick, get your thoughts on Chad Kelly doing that so quickly in his short career with the Argos.
Yeah, it's an outstanding accomplishment. It's kind of funny because while everything's kind of going on in Ottawa right now, the dumpster fire it is right now, there was some renewed talk over whether or not Ottawa might make a move potentially, because Chad's a free agent after this season, and like whether Ottawa might write a blank check and it's like, here, we'll throw you, I don't know, out of the $6 million salary cap, $1 million or something ridiculously high to try to poach him from Toronto. But yeah, I'm not particularly worried about it. I mean, I think Chad is enjoying his time here in Toronto. There's a lot of conveniences with him being connected to so well to Buffalo that it's easy enough for him to get back and forth between the two. And then, like, let's not forget the whole reason why he came to Toronto. His rights were traded in a trade to Edmonton because he didn't want to play anywhere else other than Toronto. So I don't see at this point any amount of money would take him from Toronto if he wants to play. Like, the only thing, I think in his mind, the only thing that's taking him from Toronto is an NFL contract. And at this point, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, like with the injury and everything that's happened. So for us, I'm pretty confident that if Chad wants to continue playing, he'll continue playing in Toronto. So that's at least my thoughts on it.
Nick, I tend to agree with you, but I do feel he wants to try to give the NFL one more kick at the can. But it is he has NFL talent, whether you like him or not. Okay, He does have NFL type talent, but the thing is, does he want to go back to the NFL and be a backup quarterback? Because I don't know if there's a team out there right now would say, hey, yeah, let's bring Chad in as their number one quarterback. Because the NFL, you've seen this with Doug Flutie, Warren Moon, a number of great quarterbacks that came up to the CFL. Yeah, Chad probably would get some interest from NFL teams, but does he want to be a backup quarterback at his age, or would he rather continue to be a starter? So I do feel that if Chad is compensated, and he does seem to like the city of Toronto, and his family's here now, and it's not far from Buffalo, I feel the odds of Chad being in an Argonaut next year are pretty good, other than maybe wanting to try to NFL. Ottawa is a dumpster fire right now, Nick. No matter how much you pay them, why would you want to go to a franchise that's only had 2 winning years the last 40 years? They just awful right now, and they did do something smart. They did hire former Argo and Alouettes president Jim Pop, so that is a positive start. I'm just wondering if Jim Pop will bring in Mark Trestman to the organization. Not as a head coach, obviously. Dinwiddie's got 2 more years on his contract, so he'll be in Ottawa for a couple more years. But I see major changes coming where Dinwiddie's not doing both the GM and coaching next year, and I think Jim Pop's it's gonna take some time, but I think that was a good hire, bringing him into that franchise right now. But sometimes I don't care what a franchise pays you. If the franchise is a dumpster fire, just like the Cleveland Browns, would you go there for all that money? These guys want to win too. So I feel, I'm going to say this right now, Nick, there's an 80% chance Chad will be back in Toronto next year. The only thing I could say is if an NFL team needs a starter and they want to give him an opportunity, that would be his only option. I agree, Nick. I think Chad will be with Toronto next year at an 80% rate.
Well, as you said, regardless of what NFL team it is, there's a big difference between leaving the Toronto Argonauts for a 2-16 or whatever it is NFL team and leaving it for the 0-10 Ottawa Red Blacks. But as we kind of seen, like what really drives the league in the CFL, I could argue more than the NFL or any other league, is the quarterback play. Like you look at Hamilton right now without Bo Levi Mitchell. Look at Toronto last year without Chad Kelly. How different BC was when Rourke was injured. The quarterbacks are really what drive it. And when you do not have one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league to drive your offense, it can just be a mess. Like right now with Jake Mayer and McLeod Bethel Thompson. Like, now in fairness, I don't think McLeod got really a good chance there. Like it was pretty late in the game, but so we'll see if they end up choosing him to start a game or not. But
why not?
That makes it really hard. Yeah, and I think the leash on Mayer's running a little bit short now. To kind of look ahead too at those passing yards for anybody who's interested. So Chad just passed Tobin Road and hit 10,000, so he's at number 6 right now. Doug Flutie's next at 11,225. MBT at 13,261. Damon Allen at 13,974. Conrad Holloway at 16,619. And at the very top, Ricky Ray at 20,205. So if Chad does decide to remain in Argo, he is already halfway there to Ricky Ray's career passing yards Argonauts record.
But to be fair to Doug Flutie, he did his in 2 years. Can you imagine if Doug Flutie played 5 years or more with the Argos? He would be the old-time passing leader. That's all I'm saying is
imagine if Ricky Ray didn't already set the same kind of records with Edmonton. He played his career in Edmonton alone. I've said this many times. His career in Edmonton alone was enough to make him a Hall of Famer, and he did that past his prime in Toronto, winning a Grey Cup in 2012 and a Grey Cup in 2017. So, I mean, you can make the same argument with that too.
As good as Ricky was the quarterback, Hall of Fame CFL quarterback, Doug Flutie in his prime, there was nobody better than Doug Flutie. In those 2 years, that was the 96-97 Argonaut teams were the most dominant teams in Argo history. And the 2023 team was 16-2. but they didn't win or even get to the Grey Cup. So you can't put the 2023 team in there because they didn't win. But the Flutie era, the 96-97 era, the most dominated 2 years in Argos history, in my opinion. And they could have had a three-peat if they didn't break things up with Doug Flutie leaving and Don Matthews and stuff like that. But don't get me wrong, I'm not disrespecting Ricky Ray. I'm just saying Doug Flutie got 11,000 yards passing in only 2 years. If he had played a number more years as well. But you got to be honest, Nick, the Argonauts franchise has had a lot of great quarterbacks. And I guess right now we should just appreciate Chad Kelly, because Chad Kelly has done a lot. He hasn't even played really 5 years. He's only really played 3.5 years with the suspension and then the injury. So really, he would be at probably about 16,000 yards right now if he didn't miss 9 games from the suspension and the 1 year from the broken leg.
I mean, the whole record book for the Argonauts, especially when you come to passing and quarterback stats, it really is really weird. It's like, as I said Damon Allen, he had 14,000. He only played for the Argos from 2003 to 2007, and he really didn't play a lot in his final year. Michael Bishop played the majority of that season. So there's another guy. He only played 4 seasons, but has numbers higher than Chad Kelly right now. Ricky Ray by far played the longest. Conrad had a pretty long career, and then Flutie's was short. MBT's was about the same as Chad's right now. Tobin Rote probably had a pretty long career, and then below them you have Kerwin Bell and Wally Gabler, who didn't they played, I guess, reasonably long, but only amassed under 9,000 yards each, the two of them. So yeah, it's really weird when you go into the Argonaut record book specifically. Like, part of why Ricky Ray has all these numbers is because he was the go-to guy consistently for almost a full decade, and there was never any of these scenarios where he was getting pulled for another guy, like we kind of see happens a lot in the CFL with teams near the bottom of the standings.
Hey Nick, let's get to the next game against Saskatchewan as we wrap the show up in 5 minutes. What are some keys to an Argos road win over Saskatchewan on Saturday night from your perspective?
I think one of the big things is to try to take advantage on some of the injuries that Saskatchewan's dealing with. They're in a bit of a messy situation themselves. They got Shamar Bridges back, which is good, but they lost guys like Sam Amelis and Jackson Ford. So they've got some pieces missing there. So I think it's important that they're able to take away those things. I learned this stat recently from X's and Argo, so credit to them for this. I learned Trevor Harris has the highest pass thrown from snap. So like when he takes a snap, throws the ball release time, he has one of the quickest release times out of any quarterback in professional football, period, like CFL or NFL. So it means that he probably is going to go for a lot of screens and quicker throws, probably trying to go where we're exploit a bend but don't break system we've often had, where we leave maybe some of the short stuff. That might be challenging for the Argos, where if you looked in the last couple of games that they've lost, they teams have really been able to capitalize on yak yardage, building momentum. That's kind of how we lost to Calgary. It's in part how we lost to Edmonton. So I think those are the kind of things they're going to have to look for. I think kind of like Trey Ford, for different reasons, maybe have better coverage on the shorter passes and make Trevor Harris try to throw some of those precise balls down the field would be kind of the way I would look at it.
By the way, we do have a Miller watching our show. I don't think it's Mike Miller, but we have an In Miller watching. So thank you so much, Mike, or In Miller, for watching. And Fear the Conspiracy. If Fear the Conspiracy, it says Chad is coming back from a serious leg injury after being out for a year and a half. Wait till he gets his game run back. I don't think he's going to run now that he's healthy. And now I think they got a running game in Isaiah Smith. I think Chad is going to be more, and Chad's 30, 31 years old. I think Chad's going to be more selective when he does run the ball, but I think having a running game and with all those receivers, I don't think you're going to see Chad run as much as he did. I don't think he's going to end up being like Trey Ford or some of these quarterbacks, but I don't think you're going to see Chad Kelly run the ball 10 times now for 100 yards. I think he's going to be more selective.
He's not. Well, he's a gunslinger. He's never been a running quarterback. But even in games already this year, he hasn't changed his philosophy. If he rolls out and you give him 10 yards of field to run, but there's a guy 15 yards down the field who's wide open, he's going to take the throw all
Yeah.
day. He's that
Yeah.
kind of quarterback. So he's never thinking run unless it's the absolute last option. So, but yeah, I mean, when he does choose to run, though, like you see, teams give him a lot of open space because he's always, even when wide open on the rollout, he's always reading. Funny enough, I got the Montreal game, and Davis Alexander did the exact same thing. He rolled out to those left. He had 15 yards of field to roll left, waiting. He threw the ball 30 yards downfield. So like that's just how guys like Alexander and Chad Kelly are wired, and I don't see that changing. Will it lead to turnovers? Probably, but at the end of the day, it's the way they work, and that's what's made Kelly and DA probably two of the best quarterbacks in the league right now.
For the Argos to win this game, they have to get off to a good start. They have to get off to a good start. They have to play a clean game. They can't turn the ball over 4, 5, 6 times, and they're going to have to get special teams again. I feel Jerian Grant is going to be a factor in this game. I'm going to go with him as an X factor. I see him returning a touchdown, and I just think if the Argos play clean football, smart football, and can run the ball a little bit with the passing game, they should win this game. I'm going to say the Argos are going to win this game. We'll get into that when we do our CFL Week 13 picks. Nick, I already mentioned my X factor. Who's your Argos X factor in this game against Saskatchewan? Is it Sean Lemon or is it David Unger? Who is it?
I'm actually going to go with a wild card off the board, and I'm going to say it's going to depend on Alex Tebner, who is replacing Cameron Judge in the weak side linebacker position. I'm really interested in seeing what he's going to be able to do in that starting will linebacker role, because we kind of seen that Cam's been dealing with various injury trouble this season, and I think if they're gonna go with, if Saskatchewan's gonna go with a game plan like I'm predicting, where they're throwing shorter yardage plays, it's going to be really up to that linebacking core to be able to step up and make some of those open field tackles to prevent Saskatchewan from being able to turn short passes into large amounts of yardage. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on Tebner for this game.
I'm going to go with Jerian Grant. I think he's going to have a big game against Saskatchewan. What's the status on AJ Ouellette? Is he going to be back at some point for Saskatchewan, or is he done for the year?
I think he's on the 6th game. Yeah, he's on the 6th game right now. So as far as I know, I have no idea. So,
but Saskatchewan is going to be coming into this game desperate too, because they are the defending Grey Cup champions. They've now lost 3 in a row. BC, Hamilton, and somebody else beat them. I think Calgary. They're 6-4. They're in a dogfight in the West, so they're going to come out desperate. And the Argos hopefully will come out desperate too. But I think if the Argos just play smart football, they should win this game. But Saskatchewan, I don't know if they're going to lose 4 in a row. They are the Grey Cup champions, but Trevor Harris has been shown he's human. And by the way, the Argos should look at the Hamilton footage of their win over Saskatchewan and what they did to Trevor Harris, because Hamilton's defense did an excellent job in shutting them down, and even BC, to their credit. And by the way, BC is heating up now that Nathan Rourke is back too. A lot of people, including myself, wrote them off, and now I think they're a contender in the West as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Saskatchewan too is that they've got a lot of injuries that they're dealing with, like probably worse than what Toronto is. Like just looking at it right now, they no one have Roland Milligan, they don't have Sam Emelis, they don't have Albert Awashe, they don't have AJ Ouellette, they don't have Keon Schaefer Baker, they don't have Matthew Sexton. I mean, to we've lost Mackay Polk. We've lost, we don't have Cam Judge. We don't have Brandon Camp. No Andrew Chatfield. No Robert Priester still, of course, broke his leg in the Ottawa game. No Jeremiah Ojo this week. So like we have our share of injuries too, but they have what I think are sometimes the more difficult skill positions in the wide receivers. Like imagine if we've also lost Kevin Mittal for more time, and we've lost Demonte Coxie for more time. Kind of like last season when we lost a couple of wide receivers. It can be a lot more difficult. So I think I think this game is winnable by all means. Like, it could be a game that we lose, it could be a game that we win, but I think if we can take advantage of some of the shortcomings that Saskatchewan has, like Trevor Harris doesn't have too many pieces to work with, and if the D line can continue to get pressure on him, they're in a really good spot to win. As I said, better than 2-1 odds. That's kind of insane to me that Saskatchewan's favored by that much, even being at home.
I'm going to beat you to this, Nick. We've got a CFL update. Montreal, Winnipeg, 7-7 towards the end of the first quarter I believe it's in Winnipeg tonight. So Winnipeg, Montreal, 7-7, end of first quarter at Princess Auto Stadium, and that should be a barn burner as well. Montreal goes into that game 8-1. Winnipeg is what, 5-4, Nick?
5-5, and Winnipeg's second down. They have it just in Montreal territory. I think it's at around the 40-yard line.
So when we're done this show, I can't speak for you. I know I'm going to be putting on the Alouettes Bombers game on TSN because I think this game's going to come down to the final play.
You know me as a CFL diehard. I've got it on now. So,
by the way, Nick, as we wrap the show up, it's now CFL Week 13. Montreal, Winnipeg going on right now. Hamilton, Calgary, Saturday at 3. Your Argonauts in Saskatchewan, 7 o'clock Saturday on TSN. And then the big game on Sunday night. I'm being sarcastic. BC at Ottawa on Sunday Night Football. Nick, I'm going to let you go first. I want to see your picks.
Yep. So I picked Montreal over Winnipeg right now, 7-0 or 7-7 still. Hamilton and Calgary, I picked Calgary at home, even without VA. Toronto and Saskatchewan, I, of course, picked the good guys, the Argonauts. And I picked BC over Ottawa in Ottawa.
I'm going to go with Winnipeg over Montreal. Hamilton and Calgary, I'm going to go with Hamilton since Ferdinand Adams Jr. is not going to be playing, and Hamilton's going to be desperate. I think they're going to win that game. Toronto and Saskatchewan, my heart says Argos, my brain says Saskatchewan. The Argos lately have struggled on the road, so I'm going to go with Saskatchewan. I hope I'm wrong, Nick. Everyone I'm watching, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to go with Saskatchewan at home to beat the Argos until the Argos can start playing better football on the road. And then Sunday night game, BC and Ottawa. I'm going to go crazy here. I'm going with Ottawa over BC. Ottawa finally wins their first football game on Sunday. You heard it from Chris Pomay on the Argo Bounce podcast show. Ottawa beats BC in the upset of the season.
Well, I'm not shaking my head because of you picking Ottawa. I've picked them twice and they let me down, and once it was really close. I'm shaking my head in that you picked Hamilton and against Toronto, and you call yourself an Argos fan.
I'm objective. I got to be objective. I hope I'm wrong. So I got Winnipeg, Hamilton, Saskatchewan, and Ottawa winning these games. So I'm just saying I think there's going to be a couple upsets this week. So,
yep. Well, I think that actually, before we wrap it up, there is one big thing that I do want to talk about with it being the Labor Day game coming up this week. Do have to share that we do have, repeating again, the 65-kilometer Labor Day walk for CFL Fans Fight Cancer. So you will see myself with Connor Sylvain and Dallas Bergen, who, of course, organized that the last 2 years. And there'll be a couple more people with us. We're going to be joining in. We'll start on Friday. I think we've bumped it up to start during the daytime. So what'll be nice this year is we want to try to plan it so that we're walking in the day, but by the time we get to our achieved goals for the walk, we'll be able to stop at a pub somewhere and watch the CFL games together. So we'll be able to walk with our jerseys and everything like that and showing support. So that's going to be really exciting. And of course, if you're able, you can make a donation at CFL Fans Fight Cancer.
And finally, Nick, how can our audience follow you on social media? The best way of contacting you and your next Small History podcast episode.
Yep. As always, you can follow me at NickSmall38 on Twitter and Instagram. So you can always find me up there. And on my on my small podcast history channel. You can follow me there as well, where I occasionally post some historical content.
Final thoughts on our show tonight.
Go Argos. Well, I don't have to say anything more, but yeah, if you are, as I said before, like the CFL Fans Fight Cancer thing is one of my favorite events of the year. It's the walk last year was a lot of fun. So if anybody's able to contribute in some way, if you're able to walk, whether you walk with us or just walk on your own to show some support, solidarity, or make a donation, it's very much appreciated. So just it's going this year. The money's going to the Alberta Cancer Foundation. As always, they donate to a cancer foundation connected with the host city, in this case Calgary, so for the Grey Cup. So we're really excited for that to go on this year. So if you can donate, we really appreciate it.
All right, well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on here tonight, and next week we will announce our day and time we're going to do our show. I'm not sure what day and time, because the Argos next game after Saturday won't be until Labor Day, Monday, September 7th.
Yep.
Is it 2:00 kickoff at Hamilton Stadium?
Yes, I believe so.
I believe
here.
it's
2:30.
So we'll try to do a show before the Labor Day game, hopefully. So, Nick, thank you so much for coming on. Got another comment here. Fear the Conspiracy says, great podcast. Thanks, Chris and Nick, and I appreciate yourself and George and everybody watching this show, which is available on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, and Instagram. And the Argo Bounce podcast show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and wherever podcasts are available. So episode 12, the same number as Chad Kelly's, will take place hopefully before the Labor Day game on Monday, September 7th against Hamilton. Nick, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here tonight, and say hi to your folks and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Enjoy the CFL action, and we'll see you back here very soon for episode 12 of the Argo Bounce podcast show. Thanks again, Nick, for coming on.
Yep. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Take care. And as always, go Argos.
Thanks, Nick. As we wrap up the show, everybody, again, our next show will be next week. And I will let you know when our next show is on my social media pages as well. So thank you so much to Nick Small, and thank you everyone for watching the Argo Balance podcast show, a weekly independent show devoted to the CFL's 19-time Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts. My next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment talk show is actually going to be a special show on Monday, August 31st. At 8 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be called, for one night only, it's going to be called the next Live with CD. It's going to be called Live with Sina Sleem talk show on Monday, August 31st at 8 p.m. And the special guest is yours truly, Chris Pomay. So Monday night, check out Live with Sina Sleem, who was my guest recently, and she's going to do a show where she is the host and I am the guest. So Monday, August 31st at 8 p.m., I will be the guest on Live with Sina Sleem talk show. I do have more shows lined up for next week. Make sure you check out my past show with Marlene Sharp on the Small Talk podcast. We just had a show recently this week, so please check that show out as well. And I do have more Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment talk shows coming up next week. So Monday, August 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 on the West Coast, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Please check out Live with Sina Sleem and Chris Pomay as special guest. And then Thursday, I will be on another podcast at, I think, 7 or 8 o'clock Thursday night. So just basically check my social media pages out for my podcast appearances on some other people's shows. And also, I will be at the CNE in Toronto on Tuesday, September 1st as media, and I will do some content down at the CNE this Tuesday, September 1st as well. Again, this has been a busy week for me. 5 shows with 6 guests this week. I've done 3 Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment talk shows, 1 Small Talk podcast, and 1 Argo Bounce podcast show, and also with 6 guests and working with 2 different co-hosts as well. So I want to say thank you to everyone for watching and listening to all my shows. And also check out my YouTube channel, Chris Pomay, Live with CDP Talk Show. Subscribe, like, and share. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm only 64 from 1,000, and I'm working on 1,000,000 views. And I want to say thank you to my audience on Spotify and all the audio platforms. I'm over 28,300 listeners as well, and 136 countries around the world. So I want to say thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to this show. And if you're a business and a company and you're looking to advertise on CDP Media Productions, on Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show, the Argo Bounce Podcast Show, or all three shows, you can email me at cpomay19@gmail.com. That is about it for tonight, guys. I'm going to take a couple days off, and I will see you back here Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy the CFL action, and thanks again for watching and listening to the Argo Bounce Podcast Show with Nick Small and Chris Pomay. Good night, everybody. Go Argos.
Go, Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe, foe, foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the Grey Cups won. Go Argos, go, go, go. Go, Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe, foe, foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top.